What's up, LEGO builders, and welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios. The war machine that is the Protectorate army needs a place to build more forces as they try to take over my LEGO sci-fi city. So today, I'm building a top secret underground mech factory capable of producing robot soldiers and towering mechs. But before I can build that, I need to start the foundations of Moenia Prime to help explain how such a nightmare forge ended up in a place like this. So grab your diamond shovels, open fire on that like button, and let's get building. I've been dealing with space issues since starting Moenia Prime. This is all that's available for a big mock at the moment, and as more and more ideas arise, the city becomes increasingly crowded. So if I build a mech factory inside the city, where's it gonna sit? It's not like the citizens just woke up one day and decided to put in a massive industrial complex right next to their apartment buildings. And there's the issue of where the roads and cars are going. I can't have people parking on the side of the road to go into a building, or there would be literal standstill traffic everywhere, plus that's just what a current city looks like. All these issues got me feeling like this city would never happen. Then, one idea cut through the noise like Anakin and his lightsaber during aggressive negotiations. Bruh. Go underground. And I'm not talking about making obscure rap music. I'm literally gonna build part of the city underneath the surface. But why just sit here talking when I can show you what I mean? To capture that multi-level design, I'm going to build a series of tall brick plateaus that will hold the buildings and be connected to each other via bridges. Snaking in between those underneath will be the roads and cars. This allows the foot and road traffic to operate in the same area without interfering with each other, and means I can just build my mech factory underground deep beneath even the roads, since I've already established the presence of subterranean infrastructure. This is the perfect solution to everything, because the main reason I haven't started the city foundations yet is because I just didn't know where all the infrastructure was going to be, especially the roads, since having them right next to the buildings felt too similar to how our current cities look. But just as the first plateau was getting underway, I made a painful realization. Well, just as things were heating up and I was about to make a bunch of progress, it all came grinding to a halt. I started working on the gray walls that are going to run in between all these support pillars, and then realized after I built this corner piece, it's currently lining up flush with the support pillars, which is not what I was planning. I was hoping to have each of these pillars stick out one stud, kind of like a little pop out, just to add some extra texture and depth to the wall. That was really the whole point of these pillars. I realized I forgot to account for the fact that the pillars are sloping back one stud because of these large slopes on the bottom, so everything's lining up too smoothly. So what I realized I need to do is rip up this entire 2 brick high wall I built, shrink it all by 1 stud. That way there is a ring of exposed studs all the way around the edge of the base plate. So it'll end up looking like this. That will allow me to build the wall where I need to, but still have the pillar popping out 1 stud, just because that looks so much better. Once that's done, I'm gonna have this exposed row of studs, and I'm just gonna take some 1x brick, plate, and cheese slopes, and ring the edge like that, basically just sloping everything and just connecting everything together in a much smoother looking way. That way when the road's built and slid up next to the foundations, you can see there won't be any gaps, and everything will fit together in a smooth, somewhat realistic looking way. I didn't put a cheese slope in the corner, I opted instead for a little tile. This makes for a much smaller corner that doesn't protrude out into the road, because I'm sure we've all been in a car, hit a left or a right turn and just boop, gone right up on the curb. Doesn't feel great, probably doesn't feel great for the car either, so this will help make that a little bit more smooth and less of an issue for the citizens of Moenia Prime. That honestly wasn't as much work as I thought it would be to adjust the frame, and this new option looks a lot better than what I had originally planned. It's just one of those little things that falls through the cracks no matter how much planning and prepping I do. Some issues just won't come to light until you sit down and build, but that's just the mock building process. 1 step back, 2 steps forward. But you get to move forward with a little bit more knowledge and confidence. Sometimes. Other times, all I want to do is smash what I'm building and go back to painting Warhammer 40k armies. I want to get this first plateau finished before starting the factory, so I can give you a more concrete view of how this city will be structured. I realize these plateaus will also work as parking garages to explain where all the cars go. Seriously, this subterranean layout is the gift that just keeps on giving. One of these walls will have an opening for cars to pull into and drive down to the gate, just like a typical parking garage. I figured there's no need for an actual door, so I'm just using a bunch of black brick to represent a darkened opening. Now, there is a slight problem here because the door is raised up above the road, which could make getting in without wrecking your car difficult. So I built this chunk of road using some slopes on their sides that, when placed in front of the opening, creates a nice ramp for vehicles to get in and out smoothly. I've driven along many an underground road, and one thing I've noticed is the presence of walkways, pipes, railings, and other industrial maintenance infrastructure. In response to that, the last wall is going to have a little maintenance alcove with a control panel and pipes. I added some dark orange pieces to the walls since it's old and dirty down here, and the leaders aren't as concerned with cleaning up the areas few people will see. The alcove itself will be very simple and have a door for easy access. I built a control panel with a bunch of random technical looking pieces like a control pad for typing in passwords and wires connecting different components. The pad can unlock access to this large kill switch that I'm sure does something important, but let me know in the comments what you think it should do. Complete with a set of pipes that run into the floor, it's ready to be installed, and I added a heavy locking mechanism to the door so not just anyone can mess around here. Not even the city workers enjoy getting called down to the guts of Moenia Prime, where things best left forgotten tend to lurk in the shadows. That took way longer than I expected. I spent almost a full day building just one plateau, and these are going to be a lot more part intensive than I thought. I'm hanging the plate over the edge of the plateau a decent amount in order to give myself even more space to work with up above for buildings and walkways. I'm calling in my beloved 16 by 16 Technic bricks to plate off the middle area. These are very sturdy and will give me the perfect foundation for building as many skyscrapers and noodle stands as I want. I'm already chomping at the bit to start populating this plateau. Yes, they take up a lot of space, but man, do they look good. This is exactly the type of foundational support I was imagining to hold up my city of the future. I really like how the maintenance alcove turned out. It adds some great detail and storytelling, but I do want to add more dirt and grime to future plateau walls to make them look more weathered and old. The buildings will sit up top and the roads will go down here. Those will be built using snot slabs of 2x brick, and I have some cool ideas for the coloration and turning lines, but I'll dive more into that in a future update. Now it's time for the main course, the mech factory, and finally explaining where this mysterious protectorate faction came from. In Moenia Prime, there exists an R&D company called Lantern Industries, with the goal of illuminating the technology of the future and making it a reality for the citizens of Moenia Prime. They soon became a household name because of their high quality yet affordable products, and I'm not talking about hoverboards or Tamagotchis. This company was producing things like mobile, foldable apartment buildings and armored cars. Humanity, with all their bioengineering tech and advancements, are still relatively new to robots and machine intelligence. Most jobs are still being done by flesh and blood citizens, including the high-risk ones. Megacities like this are so vast, they occupy the same space as a small state or country, and are charged with the defense and peacekeeping of millions of citizens, and sometimes violent rebellions and unrest need to be put down by a locally raised militia. The HADF can be requested in extreme situations, but for the most part, each megacity is happy to govern itself without the military poking around in their business. The leaders of Moenia Prime came to Lantern Corp with the proposal for a robotic peacekeeping force equipped with cutting-edge tech and backed by towering mechs that could navigate the narrow bridges and streets of a megacity much easier than conventional vehicles. But they were very clear on the importance of only using non-lethal weapons for the units such as water cannons and sonic weapons, since this was simply a peacekeeping force, and the less threatening they looked, the better. After about 3 years of intense research and development, the first batch of Sentinel robots was ready to hit the streets when suddenly all communication from Lantern Corp went dark. Their headquarters in the tech district, a towering skyscraper, was still on, but no one was coming in or out, and suddenly missing person reports were being filed left and right, all being employees at the skyscraper. Suddenly, one night, squads of one-eyed metal men came pouring out of Lantern Corp headquarters, rounding up and forcefully evacuating citizens, taking a swath of the city around the headquarters. The robots claimed to be part of something called the Protectorate State, tasked with securing and governing the city whilst removing any resistance. Very soon, not even the local militia could handle these new robots and mechs which emerged not long after. The panic of the city leaders rose to new heights when it was confirmed the robotic forces were armed with lethal weapons and appeared very hostile to any resistance. And just like that, over the course of one night, the mysterious Protectorate faction was born and Moenia Prime was plunged into chaos. The leaders scrambled to secure as much of the city as they could while sending desperate pleas for aid to the HADF military. This is way too small a factory for large-scale levels of production, but it allowed Lantern Corp to produce early designs for additional testing or send out prototypes to interested buyers to get more financial backing. They could also work on things without anyone outside of the factory walls knowing. On this side, we have the mech bays where the finished pieces are brought and assembled via cranes and lift arms, which can move up and down along these support pillars. The actual fabrication happens in these massive spheres. Forge number 4 is for sentinel robots, while forge number 5 is used to create larger mech parts. Located deep beneath even the lowest levels of Moenia Prime, only high-level employees and some workers know this place exists. But even they would be shocked at how it looks now because certain areas and technology weren't there or even conceivable when they were in charge. I could not be happier with this update. I've been struggling for so long, trying to figure out how to build the city, and now that I have this multi-level plan figured out, I am ready to get to work. The mech factory is cool and will hopefully help you better understand the protectorate faction and their origins. And I know there's still a lot of unanswered questions, but we have many updates to go and more information is coming. But that's a wrap for this update. Don't forget to let me know what you think of the mock down below in the comments, and until next time, happy building.